Okay, so next we have a panel, and what I'm going to do is when I call your name, come forward so everybody can identify you and see exactly who you are. So this panel, it's on virtual production, empowering broadcast and media with XR. So this panel will explore how XR is impacting workflow and production to deliver augmented virtual and mixed reality for broadcast film and live productions. Moderating this panel, we have Peter Kirkup, Global Technical Solutions Manager at Disguise. Disguise technology platform allows us to imagine, create, and deliver live visual experiences, combining real-time 3D visualization software with high-performance hardware. Next, we have Andy Hook, who is the Technical Solutions Director at White Light, a creative AV company that delivers theater, events, broadcast, and concert tours worldwide. Next, we have Nina Solomons. Nina is an award-winning filmmaker and XR creative producer and consultant. She is currently working on bringing VR into UK prisons, immersive events, as well as working on her own VR film. Next, we have Michael Alfar. He is the founder and creative director of Mouth Media, a video and content design company that utilizes leading-edge technology to enhance the audience experience. And finally, we have James Simpson. He is the head of development for the Center for Digital Production at Rose Bruford College, as well as one of 6 digital fellows at the Royal Shakespeare Company. Please help me welcome the panel. Okay.
So yeah, hi everybody. Thanks for the amazing introduction. I think you've covered the first 5 slides anyway. What I'm going to do, first of all, is just quickly show you a little bit about who Disguise are. Disguise helps you imagine, create, and deliver spectacular live experiences. And what we mean by that is any type of live experience. So Disguise come from a background of doing concert tours, theatre shows, and live productions, corporate events, things like that. But because of our platform and our capabilities, we've been able to expand into many different verticals, different spaces where actually traditionally video was maybe not an element, but as technology has improved and finessed, we've brought it into now broadcast and film, but also fixed installations, doing creative video mapping, so mapping creative video surfaces. It could be projection mapping on a building. It could be a virtual TV studio, which is the world that we're going to speak about in a little bit in a moment. The common thread in all of this is that it's about creating a shared experience for the audience, and through the development of extended reality, we're pushing boundaries into all sorts of spaces that we never thought we would really be experiencing, and hence how we got to here today. So quickly, again, our panel. So James at the end is from Rose Bruford. I'm going to actually quickly let everybody speak and just give you a couple of words about themselves. So over to you, James.
Okay, hello everyone. Actually, I've got quite a few hats. So I'm head of development at Rose Bruford College. I'm currently on sabbatical from the Royal Opera House, who I told them this morning I was going to leave so I can carry on working at Rose Bruford College, because I'm also a digital fellow at the Royal Shakespeare Company, and I'm starting a company called Copper Candle, creating XR location-based experiences. And I'm doing my PhD, and I've got 3 kids.
So next up is Michael. Michael's creative director of Mouth Media.
That's right. It's not. I know it's not as exciting as his, but basically we just run a content a company that designs content, mostly real-time content for this XR industry that we're all here to talk about today.
And next on my slides, I've got Andy, so I'm going to hand.
Sorry,
we can go that way.
Andy Hook, Technical Solutions Director of White Light. White Light was once known when it started as a lighting company, mostly servicing a West End theatre. Over that 50-year history of the company, we've now turned into a complete audiovisual and technical solutions company. Basically, most of our work now is turning spaces into places to be with technology, so enhancing spaces with technology. We use Disguise Media Servers to power a lot of our installations now, and we'll talk you through some of the examples which mean we're pushing into the world of XR quite heavily over the last few years.
And finally, we've got Nina.
I feel like it's a competition now. So I'm going to also put on lots of hats. So I'm a XR creative consultant. I bring virtual reality into UK prisons at the moment. I'm also working on a virtual reality film that uses eye tracking to move animation forward. And I'm also helping the UK government with expanding all of their immersive companies across the UK. And I'm also helping with diversity, so helping bring more underrepresented groups into the VR community or the immersive community.
And just briefly about me, as was said earlier, I'm the Global Technical Solutions Manager at Disguise, and I have a background from the theatre industry, doing lighting for stages originally. That's where my degree comes from. So storytelling and understanding how to get the most out of an audience is a big part of my background. But now, with the advent of all of these technologies that have come to fruition to create XR, really has kind of opened up whole other avenues for that creativity to come out. So we're going to start the panel by broadly asking everyone to contribute and just answer, what does XR mean in the context of broadcast, film, and live production? I'm going to let Andy go first, because Andy gave me a video, so he wins. I'm going to push play, and we'll see if this one works.
Or we can just have our logo up there the whole time. Yeah. No, try and click it, try and do it. Run it full screen off the normal PowerPoint. To me, the XR journey has been really interesting. It started for us in some broadcast projects where we were trying to extend the view from a studio where we didn't have a real window. Working with Discovery Eurosport out in the Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang, we built a studio where we wanted to change the view that was outside of the studio to be whichever venue or whichever event we were at. We'll just play it in the background, that'd be great. What we ended up doing was perspective tracking that content to the perspective of the camera, so it looked like a real window rather than just a screen playing content. And then when we started adding into that, we created a wider and wider view using more and more screens. We ended up with a glass box that was looking out into these virtual worlds, essentially putting the presenters inside a VR headset that they could see and interact with along with their guests. And that project evolved into what we called the Cube, which ended up being an award-winning activation as part of the Eurosport coverage. And it was an entire box of LED video that the presenters stood inside. And it allowed us to transport the presenters and the guests and the athletes to any venue or any piece of analysis that we wanted them to really be immersed inside. And what we realized whilst we were doing that is that there was this really sort of fantastic connection between the people that were in there and the content. And it was most notable when we brought an athlete in who wasn't a broadcast professional. We didn't want them to rehearse. We wanted them to look at that content and actually talk about it and engage with it as though they were really there. So we noticed that that was very successful. We came back from the Winter Olympics and we started a project to really develop what we call the XR workflow with Disguise, and developed a product that we call Smart Stage, which is an immersive mixed reality space using LED video walls to replace a traditional green screen and extend that with virtual reality pixels and augmented reality, all using one cohesive system. And really, to me, it's that XR and VR and AR, this umbrella term of XR. You've got the virtual reality, which is fantastic for a really solo, detailed experience, teleporting someone to somewhere where they want to be to really be part of that experience. You've then got the shared experience, as we were just discussing earlier on, putting multiple people inside a shared VR headset, which is what we've tried to do with Smart Stage. And that works really well in the broadcast environment where you've got a presenter, you've got guests, you've got people that want to connect with the content. Then you've got this whole extra layer of the remote audience. And to us as White Light and doing lots of live events and concerts and TV shows, so much of what we do now is about the remote audience as well as the people physically consuming the live action. So how do we augment that with AR? How do we allow them to consume this content in a different way and feel like they're part of the event? And what you're seeing here, some of our examples of our work, like the ITV Euros coverage, the ITV World Cup coverage out in Russia. We added an augmented reality ceiling to it. Here you can see the perspective tracking in the screens with live AR added over the top of it. Building these immersive environments, which is a combination of mixed real sets, things that are physically there, virtual elements, AR elements, and allowing people to really interact with them. I've probably gone off enough now. So, Nina, do you want to give your take?
I forgot the question now. What is the question?
What does XR mean?
Yeah, what does XR mean to you in the context of broadcast, film, and live production?
So I was a filmmaker before, and I had a gaming YouTube channel. So I was that nerd at school playing hardcore PC gaming, and my parents were like, what are you doing? YouTube's never going to be a big thing. And I was like, yeah, it's just a hobby. But I just ended up being really inspired by nonlinear storytelling and video games and all of the things that you can take from sort of all of the big stories and put them into filmmaking. I saw a huge overlap between gaming and filmmaking. And in a weird way, science fiction led to the concept of holograms and holograms and all of these other futuristic things. And I saw augmented reality for the first time, and I was like, wow, it's here. I got to be part of this. So for me, what XR means for storytelling, it means like an overlap of different sectors coming together, from theater, from sound, from gaming, from television. There's so many different elements that you can put together. And what I'm seeing from a lot of people working in the broadcast space or the film space or the TV space is that you see all of these composers moving over, you see theater directors coming in, you see writers coming in from so many different areas, and there's now an overlap that's happening between publishers, between big studios, between Hollywood, between sort of indie writers, and they're all sort of coming together. So I see it as a overlap of many different storytellers and creators doing something exciting because it's something new that they can do with technologies.
To me, XR is the answer to a lot of the questions out there, because customers will come and everything has to be interactive. It's got to be immersive. You know, just playing 2D content on a video screen is not enough anymore these days. For most events, most even broadcasters want it. It's got to be immersive. You got to be part of it, and XR is the answer to that, because it's all happening right there and then. You know, we do away with the green screen. There's nothing wrong with the green screen. We just, you know, everything's happening on that stage, in camera effects. It's all visible. If you turn around, right, if you turn around, you can see what's happening. You build that relationship with it. And if you then turn back to see your AR, which at the moment is still not, you know, visible to the naked eye, except we can make it visible in that backplate. You can just, this whole thing is happening right there in front of your eyes. And the way it's being filmed is the way it goes on air. So there's no need for sending it over to an editing room or sending it over to an extra layer of grading. It all happens there and then. And I think that instant reaction to what people want and what people are wanting to buy for their, you know, few dollars they have is that's the exciting part of XR for me.
Well, I started working with XR as a pre-visualization tool as a way to help us design our productions better at the Royal Opera House. So you know, I'd literally put a director and a designer in a VR headset or in a HoloLens on stage and let them walk around and decided that production's going to be better or worse because of the thing they've designed. So for me, XR was always about helping us create better live productions, the real thing, not so much as an experience. So I began this fellowship with the Royal Shakespeare Company and a Magic Leap with the two partners on the project with that in mind, and discovered that all the funding, everyone that wants to spend money, especially particularly in the UK, want it to be for location-based experiences, for audience experiences, because they have audience funding targets. You have to see how many audience can actually experience your project before you can sign off the check. So I've now discovered this whole new world, coincidentally, which is location-based experiences, which is actually uses the same technology platforms, as the same gaming technology. So I'm developing pre-visualization platforms that can be used simultaneously to make location-based experiences for audiences. So live productions suddenly become a lot more interesting and exciting for me, because I've been working in theatre all my life. Like Peter, I did a light and design degree. And now I can take all of my knowledge of theatre and put it into creating digital experiences, which is really exciting. So for me, the X, I mean, I know this isn't official, but for me, the X means experience. It's about experiencing live productions.
Fantastic. What amazingly diverse answers, and actually covered so many different topics. Let's move on now. We've already seen Andy's video now, thankfully. What's the added value of XR to broadcast and film production? Maybe Andy's a good one to speak to this.
Me again first. I think Michael just hit the nail on the head a minute ago, really. It's what's happening there and then. It's the true connection with content. So if we're talking about Hollywood VFX, we can do something like a huge Hollywood film where we would use a green screen traditionally. We replace that now with live, real-time VFX. So the actors can actually see the content, feel like they're inside the space, be lit more naturally by the content, see real reflections in their eyes in real time. And the director and the production team are actually able to see what's happening there and then in real time, make live adjustments, redo things, and not have to revisit that and add significant costs in post-production. So that's a huge, huge added value of XR. But the other thing I touched on earlier with the Eurosport experience is that first take, zero rehearsal, zero training side of things. So in the Hollywood big budget films, massive green screens replaced with LED wall, that's one world, that's fantastic. But in the other world, in the smaller scale of things, small TV studios, education, conference, corporate AV, we've got these immersive environments we can now build with layers of augmented reality and virtual reality that the presenters can actually see and interact with things in real time. But it means they can just walk into the space, start presenting, start talking about something they're really engaged with, and zero rehearsal, zero training, you get amazing content that we've not been able to get before.
If I build on that, because our story is quite parallel with what White Light's been doing for the last 2-3 years. We've been working together on that. And what I've noticed is this, right? You're asking what's the added value. The added value is everybody's creative. Everybody's a creative. Everybody's got ideas. And when they see this, they come to us and they say, oh, can we do this? And can we do that? And can we do this? And everybody's got these ideas in the back of their head. And this smart stage XR environment allows these people to bring these, what previous were crazy ideas, bring them forward because they're no longer crazy. They're no longer non-achievable. They can be, it's doable now, and they can see it, and everybody's starting to think. The added value for me is that it enhances every producer, every director's creativity, and ideas that have been buried at the bottom of the drawers are now starting to surface, and I think that is added value to this whole setup.
I'll go. I think there's two areas where it adds value. The first one is younger generations they want more, they want to be put somewhere else, and their attention span, they want when they watch Netflix or YouTube or a cinema. My friend the other day, he was watching a film in the cinema, and some kid was just FaceTiming, explaining what was happening during the movie, and he realized that younger people, they are interacting with more different types of technologies all at the same time. So when you're watching TV, they're not just watching TV, you're also on your computer, you're also on your phone. But when it comes to XR, whatever we can provide, someone can be fully immersed and have your attention 100%. So compared to all of the fast types of information that you get via Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, this offers 100% value and attention. The other bit I'm going to add to it is also, that comes from gaming, is kind of like the Twitch element. So for esports and for VR, I think that's going to be one of the biggest location-based entertainment that's going to be growing, that you're going to see across stadiums in gaming and people watching games. It's a huge growing trend for young people watching influencers, watching gamers online, watching like Olympic gamers, I suppose. And what people really want, or what broadcasters or clients really want, is how can you interact with your audience whilst this game is taking place? Can we sell merchandise in real time of the characters that are playing? Can we make sort of more interaction with the people that are watching what's happening right now? And I think that's what people are looking for. They're looking for data, they're looking for analytics, and with that information, they're adding more value to the content that they're offering their clients. So they're giving more back by seeing what people are interested in.
Well, I'm just very excited by the convergence of industries, film, theatre, broadcast, TV, gaming. They're all converging, both as technologists to create the experiences, but also as platforms that we can watch. So yeah, that's all I've got to add to that.
Yeah, I think everyone has experiences in seeing the reaction from a customer or a client walking in or experiencing XR almost for the first time. And it's like that light bulb moment where suddenly they get it. They get why this technology exists and why they're using it. And it's a communication capability, like Michael alluded to with the unlocking ideas, but also just being able to have that shared collaborative experience of what you're trying to explain, that it's no longer a theoretical thing, it's something that you can reach out and tangibly touch or interact with, reaching out in a VR world or an XR stage where you can actually reach out when you're doing a weather forecast and see exactly where the city is that you're interacting with, means that suddenly people have that landed understanding of exactly what the other person meant. It's not an implied understanding, but it's actually, it's something tangible that they're relating to. So converse to added value, let's talk about what challenges there are in this space. And I know one of the challenges that certainly we've seen is that the skills required to deliver XR are incredibly high tech and incredibly cutting edge, which means that we have almost a kind of skill shortage, because actually this industry hasn't historically had a lot of 3D modelers and animators who work in these kind of real-time engines and so on. And I know that James and the centre at Rose Bruford has been sort of targeting that as one of the objectives. So maybe James can give us a bit more on that background.
Yeah, sure. So we identified two problems here. Firstly is that we need more people to deliver the skills in this industry. So we've got to train people up as graduates. The problem with that is that how do you tell a 17-year-old that they need to go and work in the virtual reality industry, in theatre, or not going into the gaming industry and just becoming a hardcore coder? They need to actually, apply some art and some creativity to the role as well. That's very difficult. So we're finding that the courses we're creating around virtual reality and virtual production, they're not creating very well because we just can't bring the 17-year-olds in. They don't understand it's there yet. The industry needs them. There's a great demand for them. And when they see it, you get that light bulb moment. They go, I want to work in this industry. And when they realise there's high demand, we've got a captive audience. But we're just trying to struggle to get them in through the door at the moment. The other thing that you can do is you can transfer skills, take people that already exist in the industry. Something that I'm trying to develop is a platform that will allow you to take traditional theatrical control experts, people that know how to put theatres on using modular control systems, using systems like Disguise, take those skills and reapply them to this technology. So we can start to develop in Unity or Unreal or in Disguise or Notch, all sort of platforms that can be used to create creative content. And the skill set for that could come from people that already exist. We just need to retrain them very slightly or create the platforms that will bridge them together.
Again, from a creative point of view, Andy can talk about other hardware and other issues that are. From a creative point of view, what to me is a challenge is convincing people this is a good idea, because this has been going on for a while. You've got a very successful workflow with a green screen and magnificent keyers, and it's all working lovely. And you're asking a producer to plonk down a serious investment in a couple of LED screens and some tracking, and he's saying, but why am I doing that? Because I've got something standing right there that works. And you tell him, yes, but that what you've got, that's today, this is tomorrow, and this is where it's heading. And telling them this is the advantages of having a system like that in-house. We are on the way. We're missing virtual shadows. We're missing real-time reflections. All these things that creatives tend to kind of stop at. The reflection's not right. Oh, this reflection's not of the guy standing inside that. But there's solutions to that, and they will come quicker than we might think. They're actually being worked on as we are. So that, to me, is like convincing people that £500,000 or £1 million that you're asked to invest is actually not a bad idea, believe it or not.
So as the only woman here, I would like to say that diversity is one of the biggest problems that I think we've got. I think we need to bring in more voices, more people who come from different areas, as I mentioned before, because I think if we have the same old voices, people who already exist within the community, you only think one way. And I think if you come from another sector, you can actually bring something quite refreshing, quite different, that can really challenge the pre-existing conceptions that already exist for the technologies out there. So one of the things that I'm working on with Immerse UK, with the government, is to grow this problem. We realize there's a huge problem with people who have the skill sets for Unity, for Unreal, animators, coders, and actually one of the things that I'm trying to do, if you guys are in the UK next month, is something called XRDI, which is a free workshop for people who are interested, if you are from an underrepresented group, to sign up for free and learn how to make VR 360 films, use machine learning with VR, create augmented reality, learn about spatial audio or volumetric capture. I've done a lot of workshops in the past, and I realize that sometimes it's not even age. Sometimes it's just inspiring people. I've trained people who are in their 60s and their 70s, and they quit their job, and they're like, this is my new thing. And they go off and create their own companies because they're so inspired. They see what the technology can do. And all it is, I think, is just giving them the next steps to create immersive technologies. I will not be surprised if the UK government will be creating collaborations with countries outside, outsourcing coders or animators, etc., because there's a huge, huge lack of people for this. And with me creating my VR film, I'm having a huge problem finding someone who knows about Unity or Unreal and eye tracking, which is really difficult because it's like an area that no one has really touched upon. So you want to innovate, you want to do R&D, but the people who you require to do all of this, they already have full-time jobs working for Google, Microsoft, and they're getting paid a lot of money. How can you entice them to work for a project that you're working on that you know is going to be amazing, but trying to get that talent, it just doesn't exist. So I think one of the biggest problems is, yes, it's upscaling talent, figuring out how to get them trained quickly, and I think very soon just kind of figuring out what is that job role? Like, what does it mean to be a coder? What does it mean to be a Unity developer versus an Unreal developer? What skills do you require? How much do you need to get paid? All of these things still need to be developed, and no one's done that yet.
Michael just said I'd probably talk about the technical elements, which I guess I could, but the biggest challenge, or the two biggest challenges, I think, definitely the skills gap. And that's a much wider issue. That's the whole of the pro AV and live production markets. I mean, we need to get people excited about our industry. If you just said trying to get people away from the giants of the world like the Microsofts and the Googles and the gaming companies, our industry is so exciting. The stuff we do is amazing. It's pushing the boundaries. It's really exciting stuff. But we need to really get that out to the younger generation to make them understand what we do. And I think the other challenge which ties into that is Peter asked us at the beginning to explain what XR means to each of us, and probably everyone in this room would give a different answer. So we're still in the process of defining what XR really means and then communicating that to that generation who can actually understand what the job roles are, what they might end up doing, and get them excited about it as well. The technical challenge is they'll continue to push us. Everyone's got bigger pixel canvases. They want to push pixels harder. They want more render power. They want lower latency. And those challenges are always going to exist. They're just going to get further and further away as we try and do more and more and push the boundaries.
Can I just add to that? I forgot to add, one of the biggest problems as well, I think, with trying to sell this technology is you have to bring a headset around and say, I just need to put your head into this. You're not going to understand it until you're in it. And trying to sell something that, you know, having to bring someone over to a studio or putting a headset on them, making them feel comfortable. A lot of women are like, oh, my makeup, my hair. You're like, no, it's, sorry. Or hair is like a big problem as well. Or faces, like my cheekbones after wearing an Oculus Quest are painful after 15 minutes. These are some of the problems, like putting a headset onto someone's face and then making them feel comfortable and not awkward in front of their colleagues is, I think, one of the other biggest challenges.
Great. I mean, these all are things that it sounds like as an industry we're taking steps to move forwards towards, and it's great to be doing summits like this to share ideas and also, as you say, to align messaging about exactly what this is and where it's going. What do we think is the future for XR in live production? Michael, maybe you can kick off. You're holding the microphone, so it's over to you. I'm going to play Andy's other video.
For me, it's not if. It's not a matter of is this going to. It is the future. The question is just when, you know, and it's going to be quicker than we think. But I think everything's going to go that way because if you look at that clip, I mean, that's a stage, so it's 2.5 by 2.5 meters. You can turn it into a studio that's just 20, 30, 40 meters across and 20 meters high. So it's scalable into almost infinity. And that, for a lot of companies, could be a solution. Oh, we've got a small studio, we can't do a lot of things. But you can actually. All you need basically is a couple of LED walls and off you go. I'm simplifying it, but for me, that is where we're going. It's going to be a long road, but it's going to be very quick, and things are going to change massively at a rapid pace. So yeah, I'm excited about it.
Andy is an amazing actor. I've never realized that until now.
Sure.
Has anyone seen the video Hyper Reality on YouTube? If you haven't, look it up, because it's a scary image of what the future could be like of XR. It's actually created before people really understood what augmented reality could be, but it describes a life where adverts are popping out of shops, there's wayfinding on the street, and your whole social experience and life changes around it. That's not what I want the future to be. My future, I've got 3 little kids, 6, 3 and 1, and they all love VR and AR, and they're blessed to have Magic Leaps and HoloLenses lying around in my house all the time, which I know most children wouldn't have access to, but they even the 1-year-old understands he can put the Magic Leap on and he just runs around until he hits a wall and then just carries on again. So for me, the future is these children, they're growing up with these devices. And my 6-year-old knows how to use ZBrush, the modeling sculpting tool. Use a pen and a Wacom tablet to be able to model. He can create rudimentary shapes that I put into VR for him. My 3-year-old is creating stuff in Tilt Brush in VR. He doesn't understand what he's doing, but it's just fun and exciting, putting sparkles all over the place. We decorated the Christmas tree at Christmas with Tilt Brush and Magic Leap. We had there's like this Tilt Brush version of Magic Leap where you can put soldiers on the Christmas tree, and the soldiers fell off and landed next to the T-Rex, and the T-Rex ate them, and it scared them. But this is the world they're going into. So for me, for the future is how our children are going to grow up, like creating their own user-generated content. You know, the YouTube and the Facebook of the future will be in these devices, and we can't actually predict what it's going to be. The same way we couldn't predict, Facebook and the hell that's created for us. But it's for the children. It's what my it's for the children. They're going to grow up and they're going to start experiencing this content in new ways, and they're going to be the content creators. So all the projects I'm doing at the moment, I'm thinking about what my children would like. So I'm quite interested in the Illuminati's domes. So I'm creating a big dome immersive opera experience at the moment for children, because I think, what do my children want to experience? So that's my future, and I hope it works. I'll just bet my career on it. I've quit my job so I can do this. So let's hope.
So I'll just speak to that as well. That I think from my perspective, the most exciting thing is about where we're not yet with this technology. That there's already incredible technical leaps been taken to get us to a space now where this is a commercial reality. This is something the industry is doing. But it's also about where the learnings that we're making on a daily basis are taking us. People experimenting with the technology we've been developing for broadcast, for example, and taking it into a theatre space and trying to apply it onto a conventional theatre stage. And how does a shared audience of 200 people differ than a broadcast camera? How does that interaction between the content change? How do people feel in that space? And the learnings from a technical perspective that these developments are pushing for the visuals as a whole for an entire industry is really exciting, because the more we learn, the more we experiment, and the more our clients and our creatives push our boundaries, and that's really what's driving the innovation.
So are we talking about like a positive future or a negative future? Okay.
How do you see the future?
How do I see the future? Okay. I reckon it'll be kind of like Black Mirror. I'm going to have contact lenses. It'll be on the cloud. I don't know how the batteries are going to work, but you'll be able to go between AR and VR. There will be rules on holograms. Like if you're in AR, you need to be 80%. If you break that rule, you go to jail or something. But my biggest concern that's happening right now is I think Facebook's dominance over sort of the VR community, because they, when it comes to privacy, you've got sort of 6 sensors and you've got cameras around the headset. And I think what's really scary is they can just see inside your room, inside your house. And they have all of this information. They're not telling you they have all of this information, but they require it in order to do 6 degrees of freedom. So I think one of my biggest concerns is actually, where is all of this data going? Where is all the analytics going? And what are they going to try to do in order to manipulate you in the future? So that's my terrible, this is the end of the world future. When it's for positive stuff, inside the prisons, yeah, I know that's a bad thing. But it could also go in a good direction where I think people are given opportunities to, I suppose, go to areas that they could never go to otherwise and use it for rehabilitation. I can see a lot of positives come out of it. I used to do a lot of work with a charity called Cornerstone Partnership, which used VR to train social care workers and parents how to deal with children from orphanages, who had domestic violence, alcohol abuse. And I went out and trained these future foster parents and these social workers. And what was incredible was that this sort of tapping into the subconscious really changed the way people thought about the other person. And so I think when it comes to empathy and when it comes to changing bodies or understanding things a lot faster, I think there's a real benefit there. And you can really change the way people perceive something. I think one of the problems that we have as human beings is language. The fact that I have to communicate to you, we can be in the same room, experience the same thing, and have completely different experiences. When it comes to immersive worlds, I think we can make it a little manipulated so we have exactly the same experience.
And then Andy's vision of the future.
I'm completely with Nina. One day we're all going to wear contact lenses. The display device market industry will be completely gone. We won't have laptops, we won't have tellies on our walls, and we'll augment the displays in our own views. I'm completely with that. I think having seen Sony's retinal projection at SIGGRAPH, if anyone else saw that, that was a glimpse into the future with that as well. So these are the exciting first steps we're taking to that, where one day we're able to augment our real world with displays wherever we want them. That, to me, will be true XR. And all of this discussion, all the work we're all doing individually, everybody's different takes on what we're doing at the moment. These are these really exciting first steps to be building these truly immersive environments.
Wonderful. Well, just one final question for everybody, which I think may give us a bit more of an insight into things. In fact, we've already had James's insight about his kids. How's the growth and development of XR impacted your everyday life? Andy?
I used to sleep a lot more and I used to have hair. It's exciting. It's really, really exciting. We've got a fantastic team at Whitelight who live and breathe this. So, yeah, it's exciting, but it's hard work. It's constant challenges.
I think my eyesight has gotten worse. No, I think I changed my career from filmmaking into this space because I really believe in it. I see a lot of potential in it, and I see so many other people being inspired and wanting to do good. I think there's real quote-unquote tech for good that you can do with this, and I spend all of my time in VR, in AR, going to conferences and telling people about it, and I get really excited about it. And if anybody has questions, like, come up to me afterwards and I can be like, this exists, that can do, you can do this, you can do that, and then I get that excited. So that's what it's what I live and breathe right now.
How has the growth and development of XR impacted your everyday life? It's hard to answer because I still walk my dog in the field like I did before XR, so I don't really, on that level, it's not impacted my everyday life. Professionally, creatively, it's been a breather. You know, we've had a lot more fun. Definitely had fun. Also very frustrating, hitting these hardware, software limits every day again, and trying to work around them. And then at the end, we always do somehow. But I think a positive thing. Shall we call it positive? No, I think we should call it positive, and I'm really excited about the next levels. And I can't get here quick enough.
Cool. You really don't want to add anything more than your kids and your Christmas tree?
Well, yeah, well, that's obviously the most exciting part of my life of XR. But no, I mean, I'm the same as Nina, actually. I've just modified my entire career around XR. It's like, if this was 15 years ago, this has been what I'd have chosen to do. Mm-hmm. I'm just really excited that everyone else I meet is doing the same thing. We were having a conversation earlier, we're all from the lighting industry, yet we're talking about Unity and Unreal and pixels, and that wouldn't have happened 10 years ago. So, it's converging all these industries, and that really excites me.
Yeah, I think for me it's that spark of excitement that you can literally create something and unlock from people a world that you're otherwise not going to get a vision of because of the interaction and seeing this kind of day-to-day improvements, both in the technology and also in the quality of the output, the programming that people are now producing with this, where we're impacting on the programming that broadcasters and customers are delivering to their networks because of the work that we're doing to push and innovate. And that's really exciting. I really can't wait to see where it all goes. So I think we've got just like 1 or 2 minutes. So are there any questions from the floor that you'd like to throw up? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just curious, aside from the in-studio experience, that the end user, what's really the difference we're talking about here? Because the green screen interactivity that you saw with the weatherman, as we alluded to, hasn't really changed fundamentally. Obviously, there's some AR aspects that allow you to create some objects on set that you ordinarily wouldn't need to, but where is that from the end user perspective?
To Michigan? I think a really quick answer to that. We've got a use case at the moment with the University of Michigan. We talked to them about building an e-learning, remote learning system for them. They wanted to put their lecturers inside a classroom to teach remote students. They were launching a new online MBA. They were going to use a green screen solution for that and have a traditional virtual set, or they were looking at just teaching from a classroom with a webcam on a Zoom call. We spoke to them and developed a smart stage solution for them, where the lecturer actually stands in a smart stage like you would have seen in that video, which is about 3 meters by 3 meters, so corner of this room. The lecturer walks into that space, he can see the students around him, he's got natural eye lines to them, he talks to them, he can see his PowerPoint presentation, he can interact with that. The students remotely are seeing a full 360-degree virtual set that lecturer stood inside, loads of virtual monitors, they can see all their peers, they can talk to all of them and actually feel like they're part of the class. The first cohort of that online MBA actually went to campus for the first time last week. None of them believed what they saw when they walked into that space because they thought there was some massive green screen with a virtual set. They didn't realise that it was actually this tiny classroom his lecturer was in. But every lecturer is happy to do that because they can see the content. It's just like them stood on stage with a PowerPoint presentation and the students out there. It feels natural, it feels large, and they can have that natural engagement. So they're not actually doing much AR at the moment. They're replacing that green screen environment with something that's really there, but it's allowing us to create truly immersive experiences that the lecturer feels like they're part of. So I think that's probably quite a good use case of that's something that the students are seeing a really added value to what they're seeing, consuming remotely, something that excites them, engages them, they can see all their friends and peers in their group, and the lecturer actually feels like he can connect with them and talk about his content, and they've said they wouldn't have been able to do that in a green screen environment. Any other examples or questions?
Okay, I think we're probably, maybe one more question? Yeah?
This is something James might already be looking at. At the risk of a name drop, I interviewed Andy Serkis last year, and he's looking to expand performance capture into live shows, and he's already done that. I think they did that with the current Bavaria version. But so it's a combination of performance capture and AR. I mean, do you see that as becoming viable and practical in the theatres that we've already got? So the question was, are we going to see more motion capture involved in live productions? And the example that you're given is the Tempest production that the RSC produced in 2016 with your equipment, where there was a live motion captured actor on stage playing the part of Ariel. Both the actor was live on stage and there was projected version of Ariel. And yes, I do see more of that happening. I don't know if the technology will be the same. Motion capture has got the highest sort of fidelity at the moment, but it's not practical to have that on stage. In the Tempest, they had lots of technical problems trying to deliver it because you're wearing a inertial momentum suit underneath a costume, so it's not using tracking data, it's using a system that can lose its base point quite easily, so it drifts. So there's lots of extra coding put in to try to make that work. I've been experimenting with volumetric capture, which can do the 3D scan, but you can't do that live. And what's quite interesting, I'm doing a piece with the Smart Stage. It might be the first time we actually see the Smart Stage work in theatre, where we're trying to avoid motion capture altogether, but in order to get a live photorealistic performer into a VR experience, we're using a combination of the disguise server and the Smart Stage to capture a live actor. And using that augmented environment, we simply just plug a VR headset into disguise because it's VR capable, and we have a live VR production then with a photoreal performer in it. And we're going to try to modify it to do stereoscopic filming to give it depth. And that's how we're going to try and get a live performer in that experience. Because for me, motion capture, it loses some of the personal touch of a performance.
Yeah, I think we have seen uses and applications of motion capture in some of the more conventional broadcast spaces where they want to do kind of the analysis or post-match analysis. So there's a lot of volumetric capture techniques and things like that emerging now, which I have a feeling we'll be seeing soon. Okay, so thank you very much. I guess thank you to the panel. If you'd like to come along and see a little bit more Disguiser in Hall 8, we'll be there the rest of the week. But I believe we're about to go to a coffee break, so grab any of us for a chat afterwards as well.
Thank you guys.